You may know Ford for their cars, but the company puts their finger on the pulse of America each year for its trend report. The numbers are in for 2018, and we're going to hit the round running with our next guest. She is the futurist for Ford Motor Company. Her name's Cheryl Conley. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Shawn. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. This is a really interesting report. This reaches far beyond the car industry. What are some of the things that the report tracks, and what did you find?
So we have an interesting trend, and it's called the Edge of Reason, and it explores how people are responding to the changes around them that are taking place. And interestingly enough, it's really quite polarized. Some people are looking at changes that are happening around the world and say, at last, a step in the right direction. Well, there are other people on the other end of the spectrum that are saying, oh my gosh, this is the beginning of the end. Yeah. And what's sad, I think, is that the gap between the two perspectives is so vast, and there's very little inclination to find a middle ground. Increasingly, we find that 3/4 of the people we spoke to said that there is less patience or tolerance for opposing views. And I think that is something that we will have to deal with for some time to come.
Yeah, no question. I don't think this will be all fixed by next year's report. How does this year's report compare to last? Is it more positive, more negative? What are you thinking?
Well, this is a global report, and some of this anxiety that we think is unique to the U.S. experience is actually something that's felt around the world. We talked to over 9,000 people in 9 different countries, oh, wow. And what we found is that there's almost this low simmering anxiety. There's political upheaval, there's social inequity, and there's a spotlight on violence. Of course, Vegas knows that better than others, and this human suffering has really caused people to take notice, and that's reflected throughout the trend book.
Absolutely. Well, what about technology? Obviously, I know that technology goes in every Ford car. How does the report view technology and where that's going?
We have a trend in this year's report called Technology's Tipping Point, and it explores the shifting attitudes about futuristic technologies, if you will. Artificial intelligence, biomimicry, genetics, autonomous vehicles are things that we tend to think of as like the distant future or science fiction. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that they're embedded in our daily life already, and that brings some good, some bad, some ugly responses. Half of the people around the world aren't even sure that artificial intelligence is a good thing. Some of them believe that it'll do more harm than good. Yeah. And when you transfer that, a similar number in the United States aren't sure that they're hopeful about an autonomous vehicle future. But comparing that to places like China and India, where you have much more congestion and gridlock, they're very excited about an autonomous or self-driving vehicle, with 80% saying they're enthusiastic about that shift. Yeah, no question. Either way, you better get ready, because Ford just announced that we're going to invest $900 million in one of our manufacturing facilities in Michigan. Wow. To start building those self-driving vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely. The technology is really fantastic. I know China we're not necessarily relatively new to cars, but as a populace, they have bought way more cars than we have recently, and the chances are they're a little bit more open to change. But it's coming, and it's a very safe technology as well. And you're using all this information you find in order to change the day-to-day operations with Ford, aren't you?
You know, it changes the discussions we're having. You know, we have this enormous task of trying to imagine a future that no one else has imagined if we want to set ourselves apart as a true innovator. And that means challenging the status quo and trying to provoke a new way of seeing the world. And this trend book is one small way that we do that.
Awesome. It is great having a chance to talk with you. I know we can learn more. Where can we find this trend report?
You can download the entire report at FordTrends.com.
FordTrends.com. Thank you so much. Cheryl, have a great day and great work on this year's report.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
All right, learn more about consumer trends for the 2018 Ford Trend Report. You want to go to FordTrends.com for that. Ford is a proud sponsor of the Morning Blend.